for Mabel. Um, wow, that was a blast, this discussion on the US. But we are now taking you to a completely different part of the world. But let me first thank Dr. Ibtisam Al-Kidbi for the kind invitation and the team at EPC for putting together such a fantastic event, as usual, which is actually stepping up every edition compared to the previous one. So thank you. My name is Ahmed Aboudouh. I'm the non-resident head of China Studies Unit at EPC and Associate Fellow with the Middle East and North Africa program at Chatham House in London. I thought it would be very helpful to update you with what has been going on in China, but I didn't know where to start because a lot of things have been going in China since Mr. Trump's re-election earlier this year. But as a quick recap, China has been busy sharpening its tools to stand up to trade and take wars, leading a diplomatic charm offensive to recalibrate and deepen its relations with a lot of countries, showcasing its military and technological prowess, and strengthening and expanding China-led multilateral organizations. Chinese leaders may have thought that recalibrating the rules of engagement with the United States before the re-election of President Trump is a strategic necessity. And I think their assessment was quite accurate. That's because throughout the last year, the relationship has been characterized by a lot of saber rattling, where both countries using the economic networks as instrument of power, the United States expanding and deepening its export controls, and China retaliating with its own export controls on rare earth. But the deal, I'm not sure if you heard about it, just recently signed between China and the US and South Korea, I think showed early signs of a shift in the balance of power in negotiations, where actually China showed its ability to use its leverage during the negotiations. And this is ironic because I think what China did is take a page out of Mr. Trump's playbook and apply it through its putting together a stringent system of export controls, not only on rare earth, it goes actually far beyond that, to encompass other magnets and critical minerals and advanced technology. And some of my friends in the United States and the UK called this the nuclear option. Because not only the United States would be affected by that, but actually it can hurt many other countries, including China's friends. But regardless, President Xi Jinping and the leadership in the Communist Party can now present this deal as an evidence that China has offensive and defensive tools, not only to convince the United States to stay at the table, but also to extract major concessions. They may also have calculated that Mr. Trump's second term may present them with a strategic opportunity to try to pull more countries closer to China's influence on the back of trade protectionism and isolationism and away from the United States. However, things have never been that rosy for China, ever. Chinese policymakers still have to deal with a lot of challenges, economic imbalances at home and other economic challenges, mounting security challenges in China's peripheries, extensive strategic competition with the United States. But most importantly for other countries, I think China's foreign policy is still confined to economic statecraft, and China seems to be unable to abandon its risk-averse approach to conflicts or get involved in mediation of conflict resolutions. To discuss all that, we have an excellent lineup of Chinese scholars today who will help us dissect and identify the most important elements of China's diplomatic and economic strategy since the re-election of Mr. Trump. Right next to me here, Professor Chen Qi. He is the director of Center for China-US Relations at Tsinghua University in Beijing. We have also Dr. Mabel Lu Miao. She is the co-founder and secretary general of the Center for China and Globalization, which is a leading Chinese non-governmental think tank. And last but not least, my friend Dr. Shaojin Chai. He is a non-resident research fellow at the Guangzhou Institute of Greater Bay Area in China. And he served as assistant professor here at the Department of International Relations in the University of Sharjah, and someone who understands the Middle East and the Gulf very well. Let me start with you, Mabel, to set the scene and ask you simply, what do you think right now Chinese policymakers are thinking about? What are the most pressing challenges diplomatically and economically since the re-election of Mr. Trump?
Thank you for having me. It's my great privilege to share views at this prestigious strategic platform, which is very diversified, converges different civilizations to discuss the shifting order that concerns the future of humanity. I'm so excited to talk about this issue as it's really pressing. Really, regarding China's pressing challenges, especially you mentioned under the new era of Trump 2.0, I think the Chinese leader concern a lot of issues. Anyway, I would like to cite President Xi one word when he met President Trump during the meeting. He noted that actually China never intends to replace anybody else. We just want to do ourselves best and to be the best ourselves. We can work with President Trump, work with the US, hand in hand on our, between our two missions. One is China's rejuvenation, another is Trump's made America great again. I think it's his attitude, and it's a kind of confidence to the China's leaders' attitude on geopolitical issues. I think the most pressing one, I think domestically, I think is economic continuity increasing. And another issue is that how to make sure at this turbulent time, China still can navigate very well, deal with the US-China tension very well, and break through the high-tech knowledge, and make sure in the AI time, China can catch up, can still transfer the green transition very well, and make sure China in the US-China tension, not just impact ourselves, and also do the fulfill the international responsibility as a bigger power and a major power in the world.
This is very interesting because the idea of confidence in dealing with global challenges, especially in the context of strategic competition, has been always the center of debate in Beijing lately. And I think China showed some of that during the trade negotiations with the United States recently, which I want to discuss with Chen Qi right now. And I will present you with some numbers, and then I will take your take on them. For example, by 2024, China's exports to the United States accounted for only 13% of Beijing's total export value, down from 20% in 2018. So that's a major drop. Today, until September, China's global good exports increased by 8%, even as those to America fell by 27%. So to me, this looks like these two countries no longer need each other at the same level as they used to before. This was very catchy by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent in February 2024, when he said that tariff gun will always be loaded and on the table, but rarely discharged. But since the re-election of Mr. Trump, it has been discharged left and right? So China also responded by its export control on rare earth. Can you explain to me how China is planning to reach a level of growth at around 5% until the end of this decade, while its access to the markets of its biggest export clients is diminishing on the back of trade protectionism? How will China do that?
This is the first time for I participated in this Abu Dhabi strategic debate. So I have interesting observations. The previous is the Americans group. This group is the Chinese group. So I think this arrangement will make the debate on China-US relations more peaceful. And as your questions about since the first term of the Trump administration, we can see his decision momentum is maybe decoupling. So since then, I think Chinese are prepared for the declining of the dependence of the U.S. markets. So so since from the long term, I would believe the interdependence between China and U.S. will be decreased. So this trend would be continued. But the question is that what's the outcome of this trend? So maybe I agree with Trump administration that the decrease between the interdependence between China and the U.S. would make more stable relationship between China and U.S. So, but the thing is that now the ASEAN countries is becoming the first export market, and then what happened for that? So I think the trade friction between China and U.S. would make the ASEAN countries and maybe the third parties would be more important, and then the trade will become more complicated. So maybe the final of the export is get to the U.S. or the Europe, but the network is becoming more complicated.
So you're discussing reshipping issue, but my question here is, after all what we've seen since Mr. Trump in terms of trade disputes, and again China having less access to these markets, do you think the prospect of losing this access will change emphasis on economic priorities at home? For example, the emphasis on industrial output over living standards and the capital investment over domestic consumption. You are not seeing these reforms happening in China that everybody's talking about to offset the reliance on exports.
I don't think the China are not interested in the exportations. So that would be a challenge for the Chinese economy if the external demand is decreasing. So it depends on, so the world maybe are interested to see whether we can have a stable relationship between China and the US. That would be much more important than the other issues.
Okay, so I would like to still double down on this point and take it to Shaojin, but from a point where we discuss the rare earth issue. It is true, like everybody in the world now seeing that the United States under Trump is weaponizing interdependence. And what China did during the negotiations may actually rewrite the rules of trade negotiations with the US for other countries. They will learn from what China did, if they have the capabilities, of course. However, isn't China also seeking to establish a China-led trade system? And as I said in the beginning, putting together this stringent system of export controls that might hurt other countries, especially in the Global South. And building on what have been said now on searching for new markets, especially in China-friendly countries, isn't that taking a risk that these countries might think about protecting their own industrial bases and raise trade barriers and impose, frankly, some tariffs on Chinese goods because they are concerned about their markets being very attractive for Chinese firms to dump their Chinese goods on them?
Okay, thank you for your question. With rare earths, I think it's like more like an exceptional or special case this time, because Trump first did this to China, not only once, many times, using technical barriers, trade surplus as an excuse to impose tariffs on China. So China eventually used this leverage on rare earths to force a deal on Trump. I think it's worked this time in South Korea, as you mentioned. China's dominance or strength in rare earths in terms of mining, processing, and manufacturing of rare earth magnets, which is very common, used in electronic vehicles, which again, China has very much strength and has contributed a lot to global market. This actually, this position of China as being a dominant actor or important actor in rare earths, of course, grew from, how can I say, China's over years gradual industrial capacities and global trading networks. It's not like China forced everybody to accept, okay, we got the like a rare earth dominance, you got to cooperate with that. So I think your assumption that, okay, China used this kind of leverage, we will scare other countries to say, oh, see, you are using this, your dominance on certain sectors to force other countries to accept the deals. No, I don't think that's the Chinese, the style of diplomacy or trade policies. Xi Jinping proposed this global development initiatives. I think one thing he kept mentioning, and I think in reality, I mean, I lived in many countries, in certain countries like here, they do a lot of trading with China. So we participate in some trade talks too. We observed that, of course, the trade must be mutual beneficial. It's win-win, and even in some times, I mean, China, in order to win the order, in order to win the opportunity for trade, China actually make bigger compromises than they should be, because China always has a bit, I think, a strategic or development policy developmentalism when dealing with African or global South countries. Even the trade, it looks like not fair in the beginning. China says, okay, let's do it long term. So I think from this past experience, I don't see the rare earths will be used or other, China's dominance technology-wise or resource-wise to impose on the other global developing countries.
So it's just a power tool designed to counterbalance the United States and Western allies.
Yeah, we learned from Trump, basically. He's using the things on China. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
well, I would like to come
China was forced by US to do that. As it's unavoidable, I believe it's inevitable choice to do that. As this is a multipolar world. If US dominate everything and push China and downplay China, I think it's a kind of a tic-tac kind of style. But right now, it's US, China, the leaders have meted each other. I think everything will go smooth, go better.
This is an important point, because you are portraying China's policy as a reaction, which I agree with, by the way, but it goes beyond that. And the best example is AI and tech. And I would like to go back to Chen Qi on that. because China revealed the 15th five-year plan in the fourth plenum in October, which had great emphasis on technology and achieving high-quality growth by achieving self-reliance in science and technology. And you could see that in the policies, because China is taking some measures to shut out American giant tech companies out of the market, like NVIDIA and other companies. Even NVIDIA's CEO, Jensen Huang, said NVIDIA's market share in China now has fallen to 0. So it is clear to me that China is pursuing self-reliance. And it started extensively now to achieve that. My question is, everybody is talking about the lag of Chinese tech behind the United States. How will China achieve this self-reliance in the context of this lag? And do you agree with a lot of my Chinese friends, scholars are saying that the 15th plan is the time where China, I'm talking about the next 5 years, of course, where China will be able to break this American lead in AI especially? Do you agree with that?
I don't think the US and China are the most important countries that lead the AI technology. So China has the capacity to maybe dominate the AI technology. But the thing is that the AI technology is now becoming more important as competition tools between China and the US. So that's from the international relations. But from the domestic dynamic, I would think that Chinese government realized the traditional development method, maybe relying on the housing or can no longer work. So China's development should rely on the technology innovations. That's the main point of this 5-year plan, the theme. So I would think the most important thing is that China realizing these development methods should rely on the so-called new high quality the development philosophy rather than the previous the methodology. So AI is only one of the areas. So as to whether China could break the US lead, I don't think the Chinese the AI technology guideline is to break the US lead. China's the first priority is renew its digitalize its economy rather than the international relations.
So it's not a tool of competition?
There are some competitions.
It's not the most important determinant of who will win this vision for the global order.
It's not a win-win. Maybe I remembered under Biden administration there were official conversations between China and the U.S. The U.S. emphasizes on security. China's the emphasis on development. It's on the different track. So there's no any significant outcome of that the conversations. What does it tell? What does it mean? That means the U.S. is much more focused on the zero-sum game of the AI technology. China is rather more the development approach.
Okay, so this is actually a good point to take the question to Shaojin on the zero-sum equation in technology or a cooperative relationship that China is seeking. And to bring the discussion here, because this part of the world is becoming very strategically important when it comes to advanced technology, especially AI and data centers. And you know that you live here and you understand the region, and you know that Mr. Trump, when he came here, Gulf countries signed huge deals of investments in the US in exchange for partnerships with US AI firms that will last for decades to come. Even the UAE called the United States the partner of choice when it comes to AI, and a lot of executives in the UAE and Saudi Arabia came out publicly and promised to divest their partnerships with Chinese companies. The biggest question I hear always in Western countries when it comes to Gulf AI cooperation is how does China see this pivot between the Gulf and the United States and this deepening cooperation? And from your point of view, and of course Chinese point of view, how do you see the Gulf's ability to navigate this intensifying competition?
I don't see a really pivot is happening. Or if you have to see there's a pivot back. Because Gulf country has been under U.S. security not alliances, like a security agreement, and for many years they have very close economic, technological cooperation. It is, I think, Gulf country is proposing these years, or even acting, that looking to the east, let's see, not to totally shift, but balance by bringing China, India, Indonesia into the equation.
But we're not seeing any balancing happening when it comes to AI.
But for now, yeah, in terms of AI, that's I'm getting to. I think the minister, he said in the morning, because of the U.S. Advancement in that regard for chips, for let's say early start advantages. Of course, UAE, it's wise, it's rational for UAE to choose to cooperate with USA initially. But China has its own advantage. We have a later start advantage, let's say. There's a lot of potentials. China, first of all, there's a technical dependency. We can achieve that. That's already in many sectors already achieved. And secondly, particularly in terms of AI, yes, in terms of most advanced now, the IIM, in terms of chips, computing powers, US, UAE, US Gulf cooperation makes its very extraordinary advantages. Two things will make China also become a bigger player, if not a winner. So first of all is in terms of applications, AI applications, in industry, in commerce, in anything. I think because of China has so much experience in Web 2, in previous internet boom, often you will see Europe, US, they invent the technology, but China is so fast to adapt it and apply it to solve the daily lives. I mean, in terms of WeChat Pay, simple things like that, cashless pay, all this kind of thing. Secondly, I'm not expert, correct me if I'm wrong, but they say that computation for AI in the future is a competition for energy, for power. So China is not only in terms of not power, clean energy. China is not only achieved the number one in terms of that, but in terms of the cost to build using cheap, clean, and sufficient power to grow, to supply the unlimited AI computing, unlimited AI application. China will win the longer game, or if at least catch up with USA. Even, Gulf countries line up with USA. I see a bit, how can I say, frustrating, let's say, why just all in? It's like all in Trump. Maybe you please look at China, and there's other, alternatives or other possibilities you can you can balance. The Gulf country is in such a strategic, neutral place. It can benefit from the best of both worlds.
But
why not?
Do you think policymakers are sharing this frustration in
I
America?
think they know, but there's other ways. Pardon? Sorry, I cut you off.
So do you think policymakers in Beijing are sharing this frustration?
That's I cannot see. But as she said, China is focused on developing themselves. Okay, if you don't want buy now, okay, wait. Maybe after 5 years, I develop something big. Maybe it will be attractive for you. Then at that time, you will have to come to me. I think that's the thing. Yeah.
Well, I actually...
I would say the frustration of this makers in Beijing is not the gap between China and the US, rather than the Chinese makers are worried about why the AI cannot fastly used in industry.
I can agree with some of what has been said, especially on decoupling. Like the biggest question now in London, where I live, for example, is will Gulf states decouple completely from China on AI and data centers and other advanced technologies? And I always argue that this is not possible and it's not going to happen. And we see evidence on the ground on steps, serious steps that have been taken by Gulf countries, especially UAE and Saudi Arabia, to keep the cooperation with China in these strategic sectors alive.
Yeah, I will add one sentence that I really enjoy this morning. The minister here, he mentioned that, we just cooperate with the best. Actually, if US-China conduct a kind of a health competition on AI, I think all the world is a beneficiary. If, like the middle powers, like UAE, you just apply the best for the humanity on AI. So China right now, I follow the professor's ideas that really have with a strong advantage, as we have a super large market. Sometimes those application on AI, the scenario is huge. If something in China, we call it evolution. Something compete domestically. There are more than 300 factories and brands on EV cars. You can see it's a domestic big competition. Then expand to the rest of the world. So it's good for the technology itself. I think US used to be a little bit underestimating China's high advanced technology progress. Like you mentioned, Jason Huang, he confirmedly believed that, U.S. policy on restructuring China's advanced technology has really backfired. As their market is shrinking, cost is crazy. But China's fully right now, almost completely broken the free from the independence. On the high technology, especially the advanced chip and something else. So I think it's a process. This year, China just undergoing the drafting New Year five-year plan, like you said. I think China already demonstrated the kind of determination to break through the choke point and the bottleneck of those high-tech knowledge, so catch up those things. But for the Arabian area and the UAE, I think you, as a middle power, why not choose the best advanced technology? This is your advantage, actually, between the big powers.
Well, I think we dissected enough the trade and tech competition, and now let's go to the easy part.
I would add one sentence, maybe.
Yes, go ahead, please.
So just to mention that whether the competition is the main thing between China and US, I would think of course there is competition on AI technology is on the market. Maybe competition, maybe all the evolutions of the AI technology, but I think there's also the common interest between China and US for the maybe for the company. So it is very useful for the company to and experts or scientists to communicate with each other. So which technology is more safer? So which kind of maybe the technology application is the best practice? So I think maybe the cooperations and the communication is also important.
Well, I would say maybe this is a beautiful aspiration in the future, but not under President Trump, I'm afraid. Or at least I don't see it happening. So what I meant by the easy part is geopolitics, and I know you guys love it. and me too. But I'd like to go back to Mabel and refer to the diplomatic charm offensive. The diplomatic charm offensive I referred to in the beginning. And probably China assessed that it is an opportunity now to try to reset its relations with a lot of countries. And you could see that during the SCO summit in Tianjin and the Tianjin Declaration, and how this was consensual between President Xi Jinping, Putin, and the Prime Minister Modi. During the military parade as well, you could see President Xi flanked by Putin and Kim Jong-un. But a lot of other non-Western countries as well. In South Korea, President Xi managed to reset the relations with South Korea again. But on the other hand, you could see that China is entangled with the UK in an espionage dispute. You could also see prolonged trade negotiations and disputes with the EU that is not resolved yet. And also you could see China being very assertive on Japan and warning it not to join the United States in pressuring China's interests in the Indo-Pacific. So do you agree with this assessment? Are we seeing a double-track Chinese foreign policy that is focused on improving relations with non-Western countries and other countries that are friendly to China, and being more assertive to other countries that are closer to the United States under Trump 2.0?
Thank you for the question. Actually, we should review the history and make the more macro vision on this topic. Actually, this is a multipolar world. Unipolar world has gone, multipolarity is a reality. In this context, China always adhere to one core value is that improving the existing order rather than subverting it. So that's why China would like to fulfill the international responsibility as a big power and a major power. So sometimes, we just want to promote peace talk and promote ceasefire for all those conflicts. You can see, you mentioned the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. The Shanghai SCO spirit is mutual trust, mutual benefit, and respect different cultures and civilizations. That's why China leveraged that kind of spirit, successfully made it the Saudi and Iran conflict. I think this is a very, very typical example that China want to do to end the value and inject stability to the uncertainty world. Use China's style. I think this is China's style. Would like to, promote people sit together to negotiate with each other, play the neutral status. That's why I think Beijing support established the International Court for Mediation in Hong Kong. I think it's a kind of amplification of the Shanghai Cooperation spirit. You mentioned right now China deal with the Ukraine-Russia issue and the other issue. Maybe there's a lot of criticize on China's status on the Ukraine and the Russia conflict. But anyway, I would like to say that China always would like to play the peacemaker role between the geopolitical conflicts. I remember last year China established and supported the it's called the Peace of Friendship, Friends of Peace group in UN. I guess many of those developing countries participate. I remember 17 developing countries participate. I think China would like to leverage our spirit to promote the peace talk and ceasefire. China always adhere to that. We don't need to fill the oil to the altar, the fire, to escalate the kind of conflict in this uncertain time.
But critics of China would say China is not getting its feet wet in conflicts. It is not throwing its weight behind resolutions, like we saw, for example, for Gaza here in this region. It was the United States who did the heavy lifting in the end of the day, but not China. Nobody expected from China to step in and, for example, mediate a ceasefire in Gaza. The same is happening in Ukraine. And I would like to link this with a follow-up question to all of you. Please feel free to jump in. The most word I've heard during the previous panel is the word liberal. Nobody is talking about constructivist world order, realist world order, post-structuralist world order. It's always liberal world order. I would like to take your take on that and explain to me what is the real strategic thinking in Beijing on the global order, and where does China see itself in this global order? A lot of people say China wants to replace the United States as the hegemon. A lot of other people say China wants a bipolar world order, where China and the United States running the show, and other people say China wants a multipolar order. Where do you think official China stands on this?
Actually, what I already mentioned that China always wanted to be a kind of promoter of peace and bridge each other on the table, on the ceasefire table. In the multipolar world, I think China is one of the polar, of course, and China really want to do is like China already initiated the global governance initiative, already answer your questions, including the 5 principles. First, it is going to adhere to the multilateralism, adhere to the sovereign equality, adhere to the following the rule of law, and adhere to the action-oriented approach, and engage more parties to promote the promote the more fairness and the more fairness and exclusive global governance. I think those principles are really, answer your question, answer the China's attitude on the globalization and the new global system. Like I said, China dislikes subverting the current existing global order, just wanted to improve and reform. This is also the need of global South countries. I think the global South countries really want to do is that there's it's very crucial to clarify a global consensus of our times that the multipolar world is a reality. So all the global South countries, they are generally are rising. The multilateralism is the will of the people on the earth. So I think China has done like we support BRICS network, we support Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and recently China upgraded the RCEP 3.0 from the trade side to do something to promote the regional trade liberalization. All those things are, offer the public goods.
Yeah, I will come to you. Just a follow-up question, and please, I'll give you the floor. I would like to go back to the mediation idea, because this is a region riddled with conflicts. And you live here, and you understand exactly what I mean. So I'll make this short and ask you directly, when will China balance its low commitment and cautious approach to its foreign policy with the rising opportunity of Trump's isolationism and take advantage of that? I know China is doing a lot of work within the SCO and BRICS. It is rolling out principles such as the Community of Shared Future and the Global Security Initiative. But we are not here in the region, in the Middle East, and please correct me, our dear audience, if I'm wrong, we don't feel this footprint. When will this happen?
To 2023, China broke the Iran-Saudi normalization. Actually, that time optimism is
but
that...
did it do the whole work? Didn't the Iraqis and Omanis
do? Yeah, okay. They reaped the fruit, as you are saying. Yeah. At least symbolically, we see China's effort. In fact, China made a very strong statement, even the efforts in the UN and many multilateral platforms to broke the peace between Israel and Gaza. Actually, I, as a Middle Eastern politics observer, I never see China use such a strong language to condemn the atrocities and the war crimes happening in Gaza. But in the meantime, also still hold the principles of security and peace of the UN Charter to try to bring two sides together. Of course, as you mentioned, US did the job because they have leverage. I mean, they have the ways to do it. In traditional Chinese presence or Chinese interest in the Middle East, of course, it's far from China. It's not that compared to other European powers, and Americans are not that strong or not that prominent. That Saudi-Iran deal looks like present China opportunities and like possibility that okay, China should do something. China should balance U.S. in the region, etc., etc. I see a lot of this kind of aspirations. From the Chinese own perspective, because this region is more for China is neutral, should be peaceful, stable for Chinese energy supplies, for China's economic corporations, and China has kind of a non-interference policy. So this fight is between you guys. We want peace. We want help to promote and brook. But you guys should come to terms together. We will not impose, force to increase the two sides to increase. But by the way, even the peace, so-called peace now in Gaza, it was not really a fair peace. Let's say, we know, what happened. So I don't have to speak a lot. I think the real peace, fair peace, need to be done. Maybe China can play that role in the future.
Okay, so the last question, and we can't speak about China without discussing Taiwan. And this I promise, will be the last question, and then I'll open the floor to our audience. And I will turn to you, Chen Qi, and ask you, China released a white paper recently in May that is called National Security in the New Era, where they introduced or reiterated President Xi Jinping's principle of holistic security. But it also emphasized that China's core interests, especially when it comes to Taiwan, Hong Kong, Tibet, and Xinjiang, they are non-negotiable. My question to you is China's posture in the South China Sea and in the Strait. Do the administration's frictions with President Lai in Taiwan, Trump administrations, they're not on good terms, obviously, and Trump's reluctance to step in and defend Taiwan. Is this an opportunity for China to make a move on Taiwan under Trump, or this is just fiction?
Okay, so I agree with you. Taiwan is the most sensitive issues between China and the U.S., and it also the base of the normalization of the China-U.S. relations since maybe 1972. So, but the problem is that so I have a very interesting observations. During the recent summit meeting between President Xi and Trump, I'm told that the Taiwan issues have never mentioned, although it is the most important issues.
Which tells you a lot.
Pardon?
Which tells you a lot about Trump's administration's position on Taiwan.
Okay, so I also observations of the Trump, President Trump, so saying about the descriptions of the Taiwan's issues. He said Taiwan is very far from away from the United States. It's very near of the mainland China. So, and Taiwan is so small. Mainland China is so large. So while we are interested, so pay the priority of the Taiwan issues. So this is a very interesting descriptions of President Trump's his impression of Taiwan issue.
So you agree, actually, the question I asked you there, with the previous panel, one of the speakers said he thinks that President Trump is actually softer on China than other presidents.
No. So I think maybe it depends on what issues. As to the Taiwan issues, so there is no real fight or a war between China and U.S., such like the trade wars. So it is very hard to say the Trump is very soft toward Taiwan issues. But for the trade issues, I would think that it is beyond our expectations. Since President Trump won the elections in 2024, so Chinese maybe are prepared for the trade wars between possible trade wars between China and the U.S. But most of the experts in China expectation is that Chinese government will maybe the doctrine is very clear that the talk is the door is open. Maybe if the war, so China will fight to the very end. But although the doctrine is very clear, but the specific strategies is beyond our expectations, because most of the expertise in China maybe is the precise and smart countermeasures. But after May 4, after the April, the Chinese expectation is how to say is reciprocal countermeasures. It's beyond our expectations. So I would think from this sense, the Chinese also maybe take the positions of from the strength, so that which is taught by the United States.
Yeah, that's what I said in the beginning, taking a page out of Mr. Trump's playbook. Now I will open the floor to the audience, but I would like to say that I intended to be a bit critical when it comes to China in my questions, because I wanted to play the advocate, the devil advocate. And this was a very rich discussion, and thank you so much. I would like to start with Dr. Abdelmenam Saeed, but please, I would like to say that to everybody. Please keep it a question, not a comment, and please keep it very concise. Please, Dr. Abdelmenam.
Yeah, I will start by Dr. Mabel talking about the Chinese style. And I think we got, people who are Western educated is to get used to it, that China is a different superpower. It is not the same thing that it was with the bipolar world related to the Cold War, and thinking it using words like imposing. Hegemon do this. China is seeing the world coming to her, not she's going to outside. Look at the behavior of China regarding Macau, Hong Kong, even now Taiwan with the balance of power, if you think Western mind. That's a new world in a sense, there is new style. The only thing that's missing, China never decided, what is this style? Style require, in our world, something related to power. If China decided that it does not want to use power and it will use forums like BRICS, like Shanghai, it means creating more dialogues in the world. That's fine, in addition to the UN and its organizations. It's a big lesson. I want to thank very much Chinese colleagues here that are teaching that there is something new here in how countries, even very powerful, and in competition with great powers, there is no multipolar world. What is the influence of Japan or Indonesia or India in our current world? Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Abdelmenam. I will take Chu Wongyi.
Thank you. I really enjoyed the Chinese colleagues' discussion. I'd like to ask one simple question. So one of the panelists said that multipolar world is reality. So if you look at Chinese diplomatic language, multipolarity and multipolar world is kind of Chinese desired configuration of power on a global stage. And my question is, do you think that Asia should be also multipolar? For example, in Asia, you have many countries other than China, Japan, India, and lots of countries in Southeast Asia, and South Korea as well. So do you also support, do you think that China also supports multipolarity in Asia? Thank you.
Any other questions before I turn to our speakers? It doesn't seem so. So anyone wants to comment on Dr. Abdulmanam Saeed's comments on China's style as a great power?
So for the first question is that, whether China is a different superpower. So I think maybe China are not prepared for as a position of a superpower. But even China have preparation for the superpower. I think the Chinese philosophy is different from maybe from the other superpowers, especially from the United States. So just the previous group is talking about the liberal order. So in the liberal order, so maybe the United States, maybe especially under the President Clinton, are looking forward maybe other countries becoming maybe as the same as the United States. So maybe the China and the United States would maybe have a dream to reform other countries as Western societies, Western democracies. But China is not. China would think maybe the harmonious society. So maybe the China would not looking forward. Others can even the other countries to looking like as China. So maybe that's the different philosophies of the superpowers philosophy.
Okay, so this was the main intention of this panel, to try to dissect what China actually think about and the priorities in China, and to explain that it is true that China is different. Even if we disagree on what China's endgame is and whether China wants to achieve hegemony in the world order or not, but in the end of the day, even if China does that one day, it will be in a completely different way than the United States and Soviet Union. So I would like to move quickly to Chu Wongi's question, which I find very important and tricky as well. So do you think Asia should be a multi-polar place? Why this question is very important? Because a lot of people in Asia, in India, for example, and other countries, accuse China of trying to achieve hegemony in Asia. Do you agree with that?
Actually, I believe China can accept a multipolar world in Asia as well. Why not? Global South countries are rising. I just mentioned that this is a reality. So that's why shifting hegemony is our topic today. But I dislike shifting hegemony. It means like suppose like hegemony will be handed over to another one. Actually,
it's like I don't want this to be associated with
no,
China.
No, it's a shifting power actually, right? China will not like to be another hegemony. I remember when Deng Xiaoping delivered a speech at the United Nations many years ago. That sign always reminded me that when China turned to be another hegemony, beat it. So I think this is Chinese leaders' commitment to the world. And I also believe that, like the professor just mentioned, Chinese civilization and our culture is different, I think, it's very unique. We really enjoy the peaceful situation, and the Chinese culture basically is a looking inwards culture. We just want to do our best ourselves. This is the truth. And if China rise, I think it's a peaceful rise. And if in Asia, I think like Japan, South Korea, and many other ASEAN countries, they would like to be another rising power. Why not? We enjoy that. We enjoy a global situation with more justice and fairness.
I have 1 minute, and I have a question from Dr. Hani Findakli, and we will close with this. Please, Dr. Hani, go ahead.
Thank you very much. On the issue of the decoupling between the US and China, it happened because China was able to sell more products to the 5.5 billion global South than it had historically sold to Europe, Asia, and Western countries combined. That allowed it to be able to compete and to tolerate the kind of restrictions and sanctions that had been placed on it. It's a very different issue in the case of AI. AI has developed in a very different way, that it has no complementary or supporting elements to it. And there are only two different ways to develop AI, and that's China and the United States. And the two are dramatically very different. And the countries will have to make a choice between one or the other. The United States has declared AI as a national security priority. And my question is, what is China doing to sell its own AI technology? It's too early right now to declare which one is going to succeed and which one is better than the other, but countries have to make a choice. What is China's strategy to sell its own AI strategy, which is completely distinct and different than the one that the United States is pursuing?
This is an important question because it's related directly to the Gulf states. So, do you like to take the question?
I'll try.
What is
First of all,
China
we have
doing?
domestic market, as she said, large enough to, let's see, to succeed in China. Any program, all the LLMs by Alibaba or by Tencent, all the big unicorn Chinese companies develop very super, and at least in terms of if you're a common user, you don't, whether you use ChatGPT or the Chinese one, actually you find Chinese one more friendly, more user friendly. At least many people experience that way. Of course, this is again goes back to my point about applications. So if you are successful inside a huge China, and not only in China, but China has some friends, let's say, as you mentioned, the networks, Southeast Asia, even some part of the Gulf countries, some part of Middle Eastern countries are willing to accept Chinese AI solutions or AI power. For example, China can offer smaller, use lesser computing power, but generating same result. So this goes back technical side. I will not explain more. But I think anyway, so there's an alternative to develop a distinct AI tools to still make China's AI development relevant and even dominant in the years to come. That's just my
Thank you, because the time now, we're run out. So I would like, you would like to...
I want to add
Just quickly,
some
please.
point. Actually, China's AI, I think, more pro the open source AI. You can see the DeepSeek. It's open source. I think it's good for the world. It's not like the closed one or you should pay it. Actually, it's extremely accelerate the big international technology giant to open and and make sure the developing countries to access the high-tech advanced technology at extremely low threshold. I think this is good for the world. This is also China's value and attitude on the AI and the high technology, share with the rest of the world.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank our dear speakers. Thank you so much for your insights. Thank you so much, our audience. And I hope you found this very useful. I believe now the lunch will be served of this panel. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
That was great. That was great. Hi, Doctor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having.
It's good.
سيداتي وسادتي